Hey everybody, it's Courtney with another video for Scrapping for Less. Today I am using this Mermaid set by Stamping Bella. I started off with a panel of Nina Solar white cardstock cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'll be stamping my images with Lawn Fawn's jet black ink because I'm going to be Copic coloring the entire panel. I tried initially to use distress inks and cut out masks for these images, but the mermaid is very intricate, especially with the hair, so I wasn't getting good results, so I decided to do the entire background with my Copics. So I started off with a variety of B, BG, and BV markers, and I started off by just kind of mapping out where my light source will be, basically where the sun is shining through the water. And I just took a variety of light blues and light BG markers and one BV marker and just plop the color down on there. There was really no rhyme or reason, but this way I could get in between the little strands of hair and underneath her arm there where the mask would just not work. The more color you lay down, the more they will blend. So for example, I put this BV marker down and I didn't really like the results, so I just added more of my B00 and my BG11 and kind of blended that out a little bit. You could still see it, but it toned it down by quite a bit. Once I got the center all blended out and I was happy with the results of that, I moved on to the outer parts of the card, and I'm basically doing the same thing, but I'm just using darker colors or brighter colors just to give the effect that that light is coming down through that water. For the bottom part of the panel, that is where my sand will be. So I started off with my lightest color and just covered up that entire bottom part, and then added my shadows underneath that little treasure chest with my darkest colors. I added a few little lines, barely touching the paper, just to add a little interest, and then went over the entire area with my lightest color again. For my Little Mermaid and as well as the other images, I wanted to pay attention to that light source that is coming down. So my lightest area will kind of be in the center of her towards the left. And I started off with my skin tones, just mapping out where my darkest areas will be with my lightest color, then moving on to my darkest color, then my two midtones, and then back to my lightest. For her mermaid tail, I basically did the same thing. I did end up switching out the colors a little bit. I started off with what ended up being my mid-tone and laid out my darkest areas. I really wanted the left part of the tail to be fairly light to show where my light source would be. So in the end, I ended up bringing in my Y21 to really lighten up that area. For my little treasure chest, I wanted to obviously color this brown, but I wanted to make sure it didn't blend in with the sand. So I'm using two different sets of browns, completely different from what the sand looks like. I started initially going around these little strings of pearls that are hanging out of the treasure chest, and then just decided it was too difficult. So I ended up going over the entire thing. And at the end, I will add my gel pen to make those white again. Next, I took my colorless blender and went over those little bubbles to make them stand out a little bit more from the background. And I added a few additional bubbles just because, mainly because I splattered a little bit of my red Copic ink that I needed to take up. I added Wink of Stella over those stamped bubbles as well as over those little gold coins that are in the treasure chest, and took a little bit of glossy accents to go over those stamped bubbles. Once that was dry, I added the entire panel onto an A2 size card base, and that is it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.